it's about time that we talk about Metal Gear mastermind Hideo Kojima and the falling out that he's having with his, well, soon-to-be ex-employer Konami. Right now, it's been confirmed that things are going all that well in the camp of Konami between these two parties, and some of these things have came to light because of the fact that on the actual web pages for some of these things officially, Kojima Productions and his name in general was actually stripped from the cover of it and from a bunch of the websites, so people automatically assume there must be something really messed up going on, and that is some murky water to go and see, considering that his name has been on the front of virtually everything that he's worked on, considering that his namesake has weight to it, and it's something that can garner and grab attention from fans and even non-fans alike, that yes, he has worked on this, and it's an easy way to actually push a product. As a matter of fact, anytime that a producer or a director or a writer or anyone becomes big enough, a lot of time they end up getting some kind of marquee status whenever it comes to their titles, and such is the case with the Metal Gear series. Now, this kind of falling out, most people have speculated and assumed that this has to be with the fact that he's kind of been put inside of a creative box of sorts, and all he's been doing is making Metal Gear games. As a matter of fact, whenever I went on to the 8-Bit podcast live stream, I had talked about this funny little article that I had seen on Kotaku, and I gave him credit where credit was due. It was amusing to see an entire timeline of the times that Hideo Kojima had went on record and said that he was going to make this the last Metal Gear game that he works on, or works on for quite some time, and that was never the case. It just continued to be a domino effect and a trickle effect of, well, I'm done with this, on to the next one, and 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 that's all it's been. Tons of Metal Gear Solid games. Now, for any Metal Gear Solid diehard fan out there, this has been absolutely fantastic, and they've been eating it up. You know, whether you were going with the main canon series, or you're going with all the offshoots, or you're just going with a little bit of both, you know, that's absolutely fantastic. For somebody like me, though, as much as I enjoy the Metal Gear Solid games, I kind of like his other work just as much. I mean, one of my all-time favorite games happens to be a non-Metal Gear game, and that's Snatcher on Sega CD. I mean, it's a visual, to me, it's the best visual novel type game ever created. It takes all sorts of things from pop culture, mixes them in. It's a cyberpunk type of thing, has a great story, really good voice acting, especially for its time, and it's all 16-bit sprite art. And it looks fantastic and even holds up today. Most people automatically assume, oh, Sega CD, it has tons of garbage on it. The fuck it does. Take a look at a game like that, and then Popful Mail, both of the Lunar games, Sonic CD. I mean, there's a fucking bevy of really good titles on there that just get ignored, but Snatcher, that's the cream of the crop as far as I'm concerned whenever it comes to the catalog on there, and nothing ever gets done with it. We got Police Knots, but Police Knots never officially came outside of Japan. Fans have translated, but I just wonder, why can't we get this shit bundled up? Don't get to work on that, right? What about Lunar Nights on Nintendo DS? Big time, amazing ass game. Nobody knows about or even plays it. He had a hand in on that. Zone of the Enders 1 and 2. I've been wondering if we were ever going to get a third entry, considering that I think those are some of the most fun mech games to play in general. Boktai the Sun is in your hands. That game was just as awesome. As a matter of fact, it's kind of like the predecessor to Lunar Nights. Again, nobody ever fucking talks about that game. Who the fuck cares, right? It doesn't have metal or gear inside the title, so there's no interest. And it makes me wonder if Konami kind of just feels the same exact way. That they kind of look at him and like, well, you're a one-trick pony, but this one trick not only has namesake, but has tons of fans behind it, so that means money for us. Keep on churning that out. That's where the demand is, just go with that. And from a business standpoint, that makes a lot of sense, but you don't really grow. And you figure if your one-trick pony eventually ends up stalling or becomes stale, then you had nothing to fall back on. Now, this actually comes to Silent Hills. This is the thing that's driven me up a fucking wall. Why the fuck is it that everybody's been concerned about Metal Gear Solid, but not about Silent Hills? I'm sorry, but after playing the PT demo, and after, you know, playing through Silent Hills and just thinking, holy shit, it's like one of the most amazing things that I have gotten to see in recent memory for a survival horror game, and I'm just thinking, wow, we could actually have a good Silent Hill game again. This is, wow. I haven't thought about that in a long ass time, ever since, what, Silent Hill 3 was the last one that I thought was like A+ material. Silent Hill 4 was okay, but to me it's still not a Silent Hill game, because it wasn't originally a Silent Hill game. But anyway, Hideo Kojima is working on this, and now he's leaving a fucking company apparently. Now, he could be going with some kind of contract negotiation, just considering the fact of who the fuck he is, you know, within the game business, or he just really wants out, because this creative box is just closing in more and more. And we can speculate till the fucking end of time, but he's the only person who's really going to be able to up and go and say something about it. But I'm now just worried about the future of one of my favorite franchises that I thought was going to be able to come forward and reinvigorate itself with this latest entry. The fuck, man? That's one of the things that has been irritating the shit out of me. Oh, don't worry about Metal Gear Solid. It'll be getting finished. I already know that this is near the end of its development cycle, so I wasn't all that fucking worried about it. And considering that his fucking tenure with them is still going to be going on well into the development of this, it was no fucking question about it, because he's contractually obligated to go and do it. And why would he want to go and just not work on it anymore? You know, that's his baby right there. Completely understand. But what the fuck about this? Nobody's mentioned a single fucking thing, and that I just find to be psychotic. Just like, what the fuck? You know, is development going to continue with it? If he does leave the company, can he still go and work on it? And that has happened with plenty of people. There's been people who have left big ass companies within the world of gaming, but still, as an outside rep, they've come in and still continue to work on things while they did their own thing. You know, they have their own development team, their own production crew, and all that shit, and they are their own thing, but they still work with past employer. That could be the case here. You know, there's a lot of times whenever you have a publisher, the publisher is... They're the sugar daddy. They got the money, okay? They're Daddy Warbucks, and you kind of have to adhere to their rules and to what they say, because, well, they pretty much own you. And you might be the creative genius, and they'll allow you a certain amount of leeway, but as a business, you know, they look at this, they're like, no, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And the thing is, a lot of people who have any sort of kind of creative genius and want to go and do something, and the big-ass company doesn't want to go and up the money for it because they don't think they'll sell as well as, say, their biggest go-to AAA title, the Metal Gear series, then they're not going to want you to. And it's just, this is just fucking crazy. And the thing is, I have long wondered about Konami, because Konami, to me, at least throughout the 90s, was one of the best companies whenever it came to just putting out amazing franchises. They put out some of the best beat-em-ups I have ever played in my entire life. I mean, that's all that they did. Anytime. The Simpsons arcade game, X-Men the arcade game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, okay? That right there is like a triforce of fucking beat-em-up arcade perfection, and it was all thanks to Konami, but we don't see anything like that. And it's not like it would cost a lot of money for them to go do some shit like that. The Castlevania games, I've been wanting to see them go back to the drawing board of the console ones and just make a straight-up sequel to Symphony of the Night or something like that. And I'm not talking about Donosaur or Ariasaur, I'm talking about an actual Symphony of the Night sequel in 2D. Okay, the 3D ones, a lot of people will go and debate and question whether or not they're up to snuff with the 2D ones. In my humble opinion, no, they're not nearly as good. It's just the way it is. I always thought Curse of Darkness was one of the best entries out of it, but the other ones, they're alright. You know, that's what it comes down to. They're alright, except for the 64 ones. They're not alright. They're really bad. But the other ones, I mean, they remind me of God of War clones, and that's really the truth. You know, and somebody, oh, no, they're not. No, they don't feel like Castlevania games. Really, when you're playing them, they don't feel like fucking Castlevania games, and it's like, Konami, we need to get back to you making all these amazing franchises. You haven't been putting out nearly the same amount of titles that you used to, and I know that gaming costs a whole lot more than it used to, but what the fuck has happened to the Contra series? Just as an example. What the fuck has happened to the Contra series? I know that you were putting out amazing Contra games, but like Contra 4. Contra 4 is one of the coolest fucking Contra games. Most people haven't played it. And I just wonder, why the fuck don't you put Hardcore Uprising? Okay, that was a downloadable game. Why couldn't you go and run with that? I mean, you got the fucking Guilty Gear team to go and work on this and add RPG mechanics to the Contra gameplay. I'm just like, that's so fucking cool. And again, it's not something that you really focus on, and I don't get why. There's this big, long catalog of franchises that they just don't do a lot of shit with. When's the last time that you've even heard about Gradius being brought up at all? There is that one game where I know it didn't really come outside Japan, but it's a little platform game. You play as a baby. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was for Famicom and stuff. And that game, I've played ROMs of it. Fun as fuck. Sounds stupid because it's like, oh, you're playing as a baby. But I'm just making a point that they've had all these really good games and they don't work on nearly enough of them, and they're just like, Metal Gear, Metal Gear, Metal Gear, Metal Gear, Metal Gear. It's like, dude, just calm the fuck down, calm your fucking tits, and focus on something else. You need to build up a lot of shit if you want to continue being a big third-party company. And is Hideo Kojima just kind of sick of it? One of the top dogs, top brass within the company, and is like, you know what, I'm out? Or is he really just trying to go and cement his position and then get more money out of it because he realizes that he's a lucrative draw? You know, it's just a lot of questions to be asked, but I want to see the company back to where they fucking were. Not just putting out maybe 1 or 2 titles every so often, and then those titles are questionable of quality and direction. You know, and Hideo Kojima, I want to see you go and work on lots of things outside of Metal Gear. And if anybody takes and says, oh, you're just hating on the Metal Gear, shut the fuck up, you goddamn imbecile. Jesus fucking Christ. Just because I want to see somebody make more than just one fucking thing over and over again doesn't mean I hate it. Fuck's sake. Anyhow, play Snatcher, it's amazing, it's fucking expensive, so play a ROM of it, since they won't even digitally re-release the fucking game. Just goes to show how far up their own ass they are. Just fucking hell, man. Anyhow, so I don't know, what's everybody's thoughts on this? On Kojima, on Konami, on the franchises, on his work, on Silent Hills? What the fuck is the future of that? You know, there's so many questions about it. Please, by all means, this discussion is worth having and warranted making a video about. And, as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers, game the fuck on.